Welcome to Data for Future, Admond. To start off this episode, I know a lot of us have been starting as data scientists is a very common procedure for you to read articles from Medium toward data science to get some wisdom from what other people has been doing in terms of technology and new knowledge, coding skills. And that is how I discovered your profile, Admond. I'm in a company which we are focusing on the attribution model project. Looking through many articles, I was caught attention by how you're introducing things. You have several articles titled named For Dummies. And I really like the style how you introduce data science, rather complex topic in very plain language and in step-by-step, also with some touch of your humor. So as someone who is involved in data, I like how you focus on developing your own image and branding. That's why I invited you to the show today, not only because of your good knowledge base, but I also I think it's a very distinct area that we haven't explored. How as data scientists, we can move forward, not only focusing on our career, but also package ourselves as a whole package. So very excited to have you on the show today, Admond. Welcome to Data for Future.
Really appreciate, really glad to be here, Tammy. And I'm glad that you found some of the articles helpful to you at the very least because, first of all, I love writing and also I want to share my experience, but sometimes even mistakes and just to share with my readers. And I love to break things down into a very simple way for people to understand. As you know, data science could be very complex sometimes, depending on the topics that you look for.
Yeah.
So to break complex concepts into understandable. Yeah.
So since you're marketing and packaging yourself in many different ways, how would you go about introduce yourself?
Yeah, great question. I think that depends on the occasion that I'm attending. So usually how I would introduce myself, right, as a data scientist, so to speak. I would just say, hey, I'm a data scientist. I've been working for how many years in whatever industry. And I also do data science writing from time to time for different publications. I also love sharing, and therefore sometimes I also attend meetups to speak at their events, and also some conferences to share my knowledge and experience with others. So this is how I got started, and to me, I really love sharing knowledge with others. I think collectively we all can learn together instead of me myself. I'm learning on my own, taking courses. I think the community to learn together will be much more efficient.
Yeah, there are many aspects because I've read through many of your blog articles and I find them really inspiring. Many aspects I would like to touch upon, but to introduce you to our audience better, to tell them about a bit more about what you do, what specific area do you focus on, maybe you can tell us how did you get into data science and then what your journey has been so far.
Yeah, great. So maybe let me do a brief summary of that. Originally, I was a physics student back then, I think almost 3 years ago, and I still didn't know what to do. But then after I attended my first overseas internship at CERN, it is in Switzerland. So it was a particle physics institute. So I attended the first machine learning workshop there, and I found it very fascinating because I didn't know about this at all before I went there. So after the internship, I went back to Singapore. I self-studied the topics and I started, knowing more about data science. Back then, it was still a bit new, at least in Singapore. And all the learning materials are kind of scattered around. So it was very difficult for me to learn. But still, I try to learn from different resources, went to meetups, learning from people from LinkedIn, reading articles on Medium. So this is how I got started.
You didn't plan to take a course or a school?
I didn't really plan to take a formal school, so to speak, but I learned from Udemy, Coursera, all these.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yes.
And if there are people who want to go into data science, ask you like, should I take a master or should I just go by myself and do exactly what you did? Do you have one side that you think is more favorable than the other?
Yeah, to me, I think I will ask them another question just to prompt them. Like, it really depends on what you want. So, if you really want to do some cutting edge data science, deep learning, AI, reinforcement
Uh-huh.
learning, then you might want to consider going for a master or even PhD sometimes.
Mm,
But on the other hand, if you just want to go for a general, data science problem solving,
uh-huh.
then you don't need a master at all. I think even bachelor with your own data science portfolio, I think
Mm-hmm.
it will be highly valuable as well.
Yeah. But then it comes to question too many. Of course, I can learn from Udemy. I can get a course certificate from Coursera. How do I land a job with that? Everyone is asking for experience, knowledge, and if I don't start, I don't have background, I cannot knock the door open for my first experience, and then I cannot move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I felt that as well. I struggled this, like, especially when you're a fresh grad, you go out to look for a job, and people
Mm-hmm.
need a fresh grad to have a work experience, which is kind of contradicting sometimes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how do you get experience when you are just starting out? I think if you are just starting out, for me, I would
Mm-hmm.
say try your best to build a data science portfolio. So that time, I try my best to graduate earlier, like one
Mm-hmm.
semester before, but I didn't go for a full-time job after that. Instead, I went for a full-time internship in data science field just to build my portfolio. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will just, why do you do that? Why don't you just look for a full-time job, get the
Mm-hmm.
full-time pay? But I look for the long-term kind of goal that I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I sacrificed the short-term gain
Mm-hmm.
in the internship. But then I learned a lot. From there, I started building up my portfolio, and when I was ready, and then started looking for a job. Meantime, I also did a few of some of the so-called freelance data science projects. So this is how I built my portfolio, not just
Mm-hmm.
relying on the internship, but also external, data
Mm-hmm.
science projects or from Kaggle.
That caught my attention because you were just an intern, but how did you get more freelance jobs on data science?
Yeah, exactly. So usually when you were starting out, you just want to get experience. People won't really want to pay for that. And that is
Mm-hmm.
how about the pro bono projects, like unpaid for the first
Okay. Mm-hmm.
project, just to get started. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're searching for, yeah, pro bono. You want an opportunity to learn and you want a real life projects to work on. I guess in
And don't
terms of,
forget to get their testimonials. Very important.
ah,
These
where
are
do they
credentials, right?
where
Yeah.
do they offer testimonials for you?
I would try to put it on the table first before I started. Like, I'm gonna help you to do this project for
Mm-hmm.
free, but
Mm-hmm.
in return, can you help me write a testimonial after the project?
You
Yeah.
mean to put it on LinkedIn?
Yes, LinkedIn or
Okay.
your website. Yeah,
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm just digging deeper and deeper because I find your path starting from zero and to develop yourself into a data scientist and package your own branding very fascinating. And with that being said, I believe like among the whole 360 image you're building for yourself, one part of it is publishing articles, another part is being speakers, but just to put yourself out there. And you also mentioned you like teaching. I cannot agree more. Like the opportunity to teach really helps you to enhance and gain clarity
mhm,
for
yeah,
the knowledge. Is win-win for many people. So would you want to touch on some aspects of those, maybe your article, your talks, and or your teaching, to tell people how do you get into it, and then what's your goal when you're doing them?
great. Yeah, as you say, right, I touch on different aspects. So writing and
Mm-hmm.
speaking. I actually didn't go into this all at once, but I didn't even know I love speaking. So I started off by writing on
Uh-huh.
Medium. I remember my first article was how I got into data science from physics.
Uh-huh.
So that was my first article,
Uh-huh.
and surprisingly, I got a lot of comments from others, messages from LinkedIn saying that, "Hey, I found your article really helpful, inspiring." And this is how I got started. Like, hey, actually, people found my article helpful, and
Uh-huh.
that really motivated me a lot to continue
Sure.
writing
Mm-hmm.
from there onwards. So that's how I got started in writing. So I have been doing that for like um, almost a year, like
Mm-hmm.
consistently writing, just sharing and helping out. So
Mm-hmm.
meantime, I started to chance upon speaking opportunity, like people uh, approach me to ask, hey, are you interested in attending this meetup just to speak, just to
Mhm.
share your journey? And this is how I got started because it was quite a corporate meetup, and I didn't
Mhm.
expect me myself to go in. So
Mhm.
that was a very weird moment because at that meetup at a bank in Singapore, I was
Okay.
sharing the stage with another CTO from another big company, and I was
About.
like, oh, okay, yeah, I was like, he just shared his stuff and got so pumped up the audience, and me myself, the second one, going up to share my story. I'm just,
Uh-huh.
I think to me, right?
Uh-huh.
But after that, I really found speaking very fascinating because after the speaking, people just came up to me, hey, I really love your topics, found your journey inspiring. And that is how I got started to
Uh-huh.
continually
So
speaking.
it all started with kind of give a thought about how you get started into data science, the transition, and people give you
Yes,
good feedback. I was like, okay, I can explore more topics and go further in this path.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
That's how
interesting.
I started learning that I really love sharing and
Mm-hmm.
teaching. So why not I go into the teaching field instead?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that prompted me to left my previous job to join as a data science instructor
Okay.
in teaching
Do you
books. Yeah.
have course published in any platform like Udemy, Coursera?
Oh yeah, I do have a personal brand course for data
Uh-huh.
scientists
Uh-huh.
that I host on a website in partnership with other people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I do have an online course like this, and it's not the technical part of data science, but how you're gonna build yourself, right? As a data scientist in terms of
Okay.
personal brand.
Maybe you can share some highlights throughout the interview. That would be really interesting
Yeah, sure.
for. Yeah, because to be honest, from our perspective, when we talk about data for our podcast, the audience are tend to be very interested to learn about data in general. But when the episode that really caught catch attention would be they really wanted to learn how do people transition into data science.
Yeah,
Is very tailored toward our audience space, so it'll be really interesting to see. On the other
yeah,
side, personally, I have a podcast as my content outlet, but I'm very fascinated by writing a blog, an article. The idea is not that easy for me because for me, writing is something I haven't really break into, and there's some hesitation. So I'd like to know from your side, how did you talk about you started your first article, but now how do you keep it flowing and how do you choose your topics? How does the process work when you want to write a blog article?
yeah. Good question. I think here comes the technical parts, like
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
what topics to choose, and so there are quite a bit of things that I would take care of, like so in terms of topics, so what people love to share. Usually, I will do some research on Quora or BuzzSumo, this kind of platform, to understand
Uh-huh.
like what is the keyword that people are searching now in data science space. And I remember there was one article that went viral unexpectedly. I didn't do any research for that. I just felt like a lot of people are wondering what is p-value,
Uh-huh.
p-value statistics in data
Okay.
science. And I said, hey, why not just write this article to really break things down, like to
Uh-huh.
explain what is p-value.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first wrote this article, I spent one whole day just to write this. It's really time consuming.
Yeah.
And when I first published it, was oh my god, my phone was just pinging me before the notification.
Oh,
This article
really?
just went viral. Like I was
Uh-huh.
whoa, okay.
You
So
publish
to me, yeah, sorry,
Medium? Were you publishing on Medium?
yeah, publishing on Medium towards data science, but it got republished everywhere now.
Okay.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so Medium was the start, and I
Mm-hmm.
just realized that if you really share something that really people care about, like not
Uh-huh.
just p-value, but I found that especially in data science, when you talk about something related on career, how you go into data
Yeah.
science,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how you transition, what you should learn, all these, instead of the very technical things, but if you really
Uh-huh.
touch on these things, you tend to get more traction on
Yep.
articles on
I
Medium.
guess
So this is something that
your
we like.
audience is bigger in that sense.
I actually didn't have much audience back then. I leveraged on the audience from the publications. So I
Uh-huh.
really want to say a special thanks to Towards Data Science. They
Mm-hmm.
accepted me, even I
Uh-huh.
got nothing when I first started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
one aspect about how you write based on the kind of trend, the buzzwords. But on the other side, also, I guess it's also another trend as well. Not only you write about data science, personal branding, you also write about meditation, cold showers, breathing.
yes. Yeah.
I really appreciate like when I read your article, you have this touch of honesty and exposure that you are really sharing from deep down with the audience. And I'm curious to see how you decide to touch on such broad topics. And yeah, just what's the relationship between data science and meditation? You put them together into your blog.
Yeah, on the surface, there's actually not much relationship.
Okay.
I recently started sharing these different topics other than data science because I really felt the need to write that. I've been wanting to write these kind of topics,
Uh-huh.
not for the motivational purpose, but to jot down my thoughts, how I feel about things, like
Uh-huh.
taking coach, all this mundane day-to-day stuff. But I think it's very important to know. And if you read the meditation article, something that I feel very strongly is the part of mindfulness.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that made me decided to join this 5 days meditation at a temple, and that was a very last minute decision. I just took a leave a few days back.
Uh-huh.
So, but I was glad that I took the decision because I really learned a lot on the mindfulness, and I felt like more people should really learn more about this topic. People don't talk
Was
about this very often, right? Yeah.
was it your first time trying it? And
You
you
mean
just
the
went,
retreat? You mean
yeah,
the
you just
retreat?
went directly for 5 days.
Yes, yeah. I was
And
actually looking for this face-to-face retreat in Singapore, and
mm-hmm.
when I found this opportunity, I just said, "Hey, I gotta go for it."
Okay. And then was it a silent retreat?
Yeah, 5 days silent retreat, no talking with your people over there.
How difficult was it?
It was super difficult because the first day I went there, our phones got stored somewhere else. We didn't have any
Wow.
access to
Uh-huh.
our phone. We couldn't
Uh-huh.
talk. After one day, the next day, we got more and more used to this thing called noble silence. And
Uh-huh.
actually, I felt like actually being silent is a luxury nowadays. When we go out,
Uh-huh.
we
I
tend not
agree. Uh-huh.
to keep silent even when eating. Especially with your friends, we feel the urge, the tendency to talk with others. Otherwise, it's feel awkward.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that experience made me realize that somehow, keeping silence is a much needed thing in our life to find deeper more about ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's so from your perspective, it's not that related to data science, but it's overall nurturing for your mental and the physical health.
Yeah, exactly. And that somehow also translates to your career because we need to fix ourselves before we fix others' problems. So yeah, it's kind of two ways
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like just to continue with my question, you also touch upon cold shower. I know there are many books talks about that as well. Like many people recommend it. Personally, that's something I haven't practiced. Meditation, yes, but cold shower, no. Do you absorb your idea from different media, or you like reading books? How do you start to know? Okay, I want to try this. Okay, I want to practice that, and realize okay, this is actually good.
Good question. I have been hearing this cold shower stuff a few years back, but
Mm-hmm.
I tried, but then I feel I went back to the same style. But one book really changed my thoughts when I first read it. It was a book about a father's advice to his son. I know it feels weird, but there was a chapter talking about taking cold shower, and then made me give it a try. So I took a challenge, 30 days challenge, to try on the cold shower
Just set
without
a challenge with yourself. Like I'm gonna
yes,
do 30 days.
no matter how cold the morning is, I just took a shower. And
Uh-huh.
after that challenge, I just couldn't stop because every time when I take a cold shower nowadays, I feel more refreshed and really pumps me up to start my day right. But of course,
Okay.
hot shower is much more comfortable. Take shower and stuff like that. But somehow makes me feel a bit sleepy and not motivated enough to do stuff. But on a health perspective, of course, taking cold shower is to me more is much healthier because it makes your immune system stronger. Uh, yeah, to me at least, I feel less sick nowadays. Sometimes
Yeah, yeah,
just like in cold showers, but you can give it a try. No
for
harm.
sure, for
Yeah,
sure. I did usually take a shower and at the very last minute turn it. I'm progressing. I also believe it's all in your mind. Like you need to set your standard differently, or you turn your mind the other way around to have different beliefs, and then you can just do whatever with your body and enjoy the benefits. Well,
exactly. Yeah, and
from my
taking cold
perspective,
shower the first thing in the
yeah,
morning, taking a shower, right? You you
yeah,
you make yourself do the first difficult task in the
yeah, yeah,
morning, and that makes you more confident, right, to do the rest of the things. So
yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, so I think we dive a little bit away from data, but also I think meanwhile it's very relevant because nowadays, as we know, mental health, how to develop resilience within yourself, develop discipline, is all very important. Is very inherent for no matter which career path you're in, actually. But I want to talk with more about the data side with you, like by being a data scientist, which area are you focused in? What's your mission? And yeah, what are you doing with data science?
we currently at this current stage,
Mm-hmm,
yeah, I think my personal goal is really to make data science accessible to everyone. So this is my personal mission, and I just want to combine both data and technology to help others, be it teaching, empowering others. So this is how I stay so passionate about data science, even now
mm-hmm,
to date. So now I'm still teaching, but I'm also working sideline on one of the startup that I'm building on is on a
mm-hmm.
marketing attribution that you also mentioned in the beginning. And the reason of doing this is because throughout my consulting journey with my clients, they also share with me this common challenge. Hey, I can't track my marketing spend and ROI when they run ads in different channels. So this is
Yep.
how I got started and started building on this idea. And yeah, so this is something that I've been working on and I really look forward to sharing more once this is launched soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but maybe we can go deeper into the idea. Let's say if a company is running is very it's very normal nowadays. Company go 360 ways about their
Yeah.
marketing. They go social media, Facebook, they do content marketing, they go Google ads. If there are app in the store, they also fight for the keyword. What is the challenge here to bring everything together? Is it the data source integration? Is it the platforms are not tracking too well? What real challenge are you solving here?
Right. I think there are different big challenges in marketing attribution, but the main few one are the channels. Each of these channels doesn't really talk to each other. So you have to figure out a way to get them all together in one place. So
Mm-hmm.
integration is one thing. Second thing is the data privacy, GDPR, all these. If you want to really link everything together to
Yeah.
pinpoint one customer,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, you have to tackle this data privacy stuff, meaning that you
Yep.
have to be able to track without violating the data privacy data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 So
But
this
I
is the
also
thing.
see because I work in this topic as well. And
Yeah.
one challenge I see is we all know a customer went through the multi touch point journey and then they go back and forth. Every people is doing different things. They check your Instagram for a moment, then your website, then they saw you on TV, and then they search you on Google. And after 2 months, they come back. Maybe an Instagram post encourage them to buy, and that's the attribution we're talking about. Like after seeing through all this, which touch point really encourage the customer to buy, and the revenue, which channel should we distribute it to? And you explain really well in your blog article that there are just many ways to do it. You can do the first touch, last touch,
Yeah.
time decay. But now I think the industry trendy idea is to use the scientific approach,
Mm,
right, with the Markov
yeah.
chain, or I think it's called spacey, the two
Yeah.
methodologies.
So,
Still, like with the methodology, like you mentioned, it's hard to link all those steps together because, like you said very well, the platforms don't talk to each other. And is that some challenge you face as well with your company, or is something you got solution for?
yeah, exactly. So this is something that we are fixing it now. We don't. I think it is hard to really get 100% accuracy. If you can do it, uh, people will come and just find you, especially the government. Like, how can you
Yeah, yeah.
pinpoint so accurately people, right? So what we
Mm-hmm.
are trying to do here is we want to increase the accuracy of data tracking, because marketing attribution is one thing, but at the very core, it's
Mm-hmm.
about the tracking part. How are you able to track people before you run the
Mm-hmm.
marketing? So it doesn't matter how fancy the model is if you're not able to track people properly,
Sure.
the
Mm-hmm.
rest will fail. So we're fixing this the root cause.
Uh-huh.
So there, as you said, there are many different ways to track that. So how we are doing it, of the common way of doing it nowadays is to use cookies, which is the
Yep.
ones on your browser, on your phone. But we want to
Uh-huh.
move beyond cookies. We want to use some identification that we already got consent from the visitors, like the email, right? Stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And with some combination of the algorithm matching, we aim to match this kind of customers to form a full journey for our users. So this is something that we aim to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay. So as I mentioned, you're in the area and space of data science where we don't really have an identified package solution for a certain problem. And as a data scientist, is not is always normal because we are constantly exploring and opening up new fields. And you're at the front state of this area of marketing distribution. How do you go about absorbing new knowledge, develop your knowledge base, and developing new methodology? How do you learn? How do you develop?
I see. I think to me, I usually try different ways of checking it out. Of course, the conventional way is by reading articles, watching videos, and all these things. But all these are shared by people from their historical experience. So if I
Uh-huh.
want to see what's going on right now, I talk to people, maybe to look for those other marketers who are using
Uh-huh.
marketing attribution to understand how they are using this nowadays. And it turns out that despite the fact that people say, hey, nowadays they're doing data-driven marketing, when I really ask them, what are you doing now? They just told me I'm using first click attribution, last click attribution, that's it. I call it a
Uh-huh.
day.
Uh-huh.
So it turns out that the data-driven marketing is not that forefront as we thought of. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we want to really bring these, that the long-term goal of me here is that in future, I hope to bring this data-driven marketing for small businesses before just the big players playing around. I want to level off the playing field so that more people can get access to
Mm-hmm.
this data-driven marketing. And the reason why we want to tackle marketing attribution first is because there is like a baseline. You
Uh-huh.
can't track, you don't know what's going on, you can't improve it. Of course, there are many different marketing stuff that you can do, social media marketing, right? Influencer marketing. But attribution parts is like a baseline. You can't do what you don't know. So this is the thing that we are trying to do here.
Mm-hmm. And then when we are talking about attribution, do you actually like what KPIs do you usually look for?
Right. I think the KPI depends on the industry and the business that we are in. But now what we are looking for is more the e-commerce side. So as could be the purchase, could be the revenue, right, the common one,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
could be the ROAS, the return of ads investment, stuff like that. So these are the main KPIs that we are optimizing using
Mm-hmm.
our model here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have different other conversions like the leads, the email, subscription, trial, okay,
Mm-hmm.
all this could be part of the KPI in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. So very, very cool and interesting areas and questions to think about. As I'm developing more, the particular challenge I'm facing, I explained you before as well, because of our brand identity, we cannot
Yes.
do ads on certain platforms or majority of the platforms. So for us, the marketing is more, when you said being able to track is important, for us it's just impossible to track. And I've been facing this problem for quite a while, and looking through the internet, the current solutions, everyone say they have a methodology, but in the end, not really.
Yeah.
We're exploring together. So hopefully one day we'll kind of get more clarity and then find a good way to attribute this. In the end, it offers the business really important insight about where you should delegate more money and to gain more effectiveness for marketing. So I do believe it will be a very important and useful tool.
Yes,
And
definitely.
mhm, so what what books and channels, blogs are you following now?
Right. I think books wise, I always share with others. If you are starting out, there's a Bible. You have to really read it. It's called An Introduction to Statistical Learning. So this is like the Bible in data science to me, at least. This is the
Mm-hmm,
first book that I read when I first started out. So that gave me a very strong fundamentals of what machine learning is
mm-hmm,
and how other models are built on top of this
mm-hmm.
in a very simple way. So this book is a must read if you are just starting out.
Okay.
The second book that I found it very intuitive and easy to understand, it is the book written by Andrew Bukov, I think. Yeah. The name is The 100-Page Machine Learning.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 100-Page Machine Learning.
We'll
He
link
really
all
explained
the
very well.
mhm.
Yeah.
We'll link all the books in the show notes and share with our audience. And go ahead, explain the book.
Oh yeah, I mean the books was really well. I think he's still updating the book from time to time. So if you're really interested in machine learning and in deep learning, how they really uh, underlying architecture, what it means, how the model is built, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without just using the built-in library out there. I think
Yeah.
this book can really give you a high-level understanding how things work.
Uh-huh. Cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. So
Yes.
there is books, blogs, and another thing I read from your blog, which personally I think is hyper important, is have a good mentor when you're developing into a data scientist or no matter what field you're in. How do you go about finding your mentor?
Wow, very good. I think that's super true. Having a good mentor in your career is
Mm-hmm.
definitely helpful. To me, how I find my mentor is I will try to join some community meetups and try
Meetups.
to
Mm-hmm.
learn from there,
Mm-hmm.
especially on LinkedIn. When
Mm-hmm.
I first started out, there was a hyperactive data science community with some of the leaders, so-called in data science field. And I just learned from their posts what challenges they face, how they fix that, how they learn,
Okay.
and I just learn from them. And that
What's
really
the
helped lots
what's the
compared
name
to
of
just reading article. Sorry, the
mhm.
name of
What's the name of the community?
um, there are different profiles, LinkedIn names. It's not really a
Okay.
but together they form a community. I learn
Okay.
from different data science leaders. One of them, of course, Andrew Bukov. I learned from him a lot in terms of the NLP
Mm.
and the machine learning pipeline. Cassie, a current
Uh-huh.
chief decision scientist in Google.
Yeah. Google.
I
Yeah.
learned a lot of stats, especially the p-value parts. Really thankful for that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I get to
yeah.
know her from your blog article because you were
Oh,
speaking
really good.
highly. So I checked her out
Sorry.
and yeah.
Yeah. And she has a very natural ability to explain stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm still learning, like from Cassie, how she explains things.
Yeah.
So I learned.
A very good sense of humor and bring real life into yeah into human language, data science into human language. I
Okay.
really appreciate your article when you shared like the top mentors in the field of data science. I actually looked through each single one of them and choose some that's based on my interest and profile and followed. I think it's a very solid way to find people who are in your style, speak language that you can understand to continue learning. On the other side, I was wondering, because this kind of mentorship, you get knowledge from them, but it's almost one way mentorship. You get exposure to whatever they publish, they want to share. But if you have doubt and you want to consult and someone to solve your doubt specifically for you, how do you go for that?
I see. If you refer to data science, I usually uh, ask, like, send a personal message to them to ask them. Or if someone I'm looking for is based in Singapore, I'll just
Hmm.
catch up with him or her just to understand more about the
Okay.
problems that I'm facing and see what advice that he or she
Hmm.
will have for me. So I think,
Hmm.
but nowadays because of COVID, we do all in Zoom call, like what
Yeah.
we are doing today.
Yeah.
So it's not time
Yeah.
mentor for
Okay.
that. But I think everyone actually could be mentor around you, but
Hmm.
just that how you want to seek out your mentor in your
Yeah. Yeah.
field.
The power of a network, right? Is like everyone has their knowledge pack, something you can learn from. Just reach out and ask your questions.
Yes, it's not just your peer. I mean,
Uh-huh.
to me, I think it's good to seek mentorship. I mean, when I say mentorship, I mean just maybe a simple advice could be a mentorship as well. It's not
Yep.
like long-term mentorship kind.
Mhm.
Instead of your peer, I would say you can also try to seek advice from someone who is super high level, uh, maybe director level, or someone who is a company running data science projects. So seek advice from them. You might know something that you might not even be aware of. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, sounds very good. I think I've extracted a lot of good insight from your side. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience that we haven't touched upon?
I think we touched a lot on the personal branding part, but to me,
Mm-hmm.
if you really want to understand more about personal brand, I would say try to focus on one channel first.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are starting out, we tend to focus. Should I focus on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, right? But from my experience, I think start off with LinkedIn. It
LinkedIn.
has a
Okay.
young
Mm-hmm.
data science community, and it's a job search platform. So when you are building your brand, HR, recruiting, recruiters, headhunters, they are already looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of time before they come and look out for you. Hey, I have an opportunity here. Do you want to, come for an interview? So
Mm-hmm.
this something that I think is quite important.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on LinkedIn first. And once you are familiar with LinkedIn's ecosystem, you gotta start asking yourself, uh, am I more passionate about writing, speaking, or whatever, right? If you're passionate about writing, then go for media. If speaking, go for podcasts. If
Mm-hmm.
video, it's good. Take a video and send it.
YouTube. Uh-huh.
Yeah, YouTube, right?
Uh-huh.
Whatever. So that depends on the
YouTube's
format.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to add, because I also talk with my friend in the data circle. YouTube is just such an amazing resource for learning anything, but for data
Yeah,
science especially. Uh-huh.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe even Clubhouse if you are interested in trying out Clubhouse.
Sure,
But I
sure,
can't
yeah.
because I don't have
Uh-huh.
an iPhone. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm
Uh,
in the Clubhouse community, but maybe actually explore more data science community within there and see how it goes.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Good
Indeed.
reminder. Okay. Thank you very much, Edmond. And for people who are interested in learning more about you, your project, your course, how should they reach out? What's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn, please.
Okay.
LinkedIn,
We'll
yeah.
share your
Everything on
LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing. And I think the insight about personal branding is really a needed exposure for anyone who is in the field to know not only we need to develop professional knowledge, but like kind of introducing us, our work to the world in a more understandable and easy to absorb way is so key. And for us, career development is always something we should intertwine into our day-to-day progress. So appreciate very much for your insight, and thank you again.
Thanks, Demi. I really appreciate the time to talk with you. I really learned a lot as well. So hope you or the audience find it helpful. And till then, I'll look forward to chatting with you again. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Data for Future. We'll see you next episode.